I found that there's three things that you have to consider if you really want to do something that you really enjoy and also make a lot of money from it and be one of the best. If you just want to do mediocre and you just want to have a decent average job and you don't want to be like super successful or anything, you can be mediocre in all three of these fields and it's all fine. But I do think that it's very important to knock these fields out of the park if that's really where you want to be. So, what are these three things that you have to consider? The first is passion and interest. And this is important because some of these things require a lot of perseverance, a lot of dedication, and your passion and interest fuels you to spend more time than other people would, which will fuel you to learn about it, spend your free time researching it, learning more about it, honing your skill, which will put you ahead. Why? Because it can be very competitive. The world is a competitive place, and if there's easy money to be made, or it's a fun thing to do, there's going to be people who see that, who flock in, and there will be plenty who are not scared to copy you, who are not scared to just like take your spot. That's kind of how it works. People want to be a professional video gamer. Guess what? There's millions who are competing to do that, and it can be very stressful and competitive, which it is. Now, what's the second factor that you have to consider? The second factor that you have to consider is, can you be really, really good at this? Do you have the potential to be really good at this? So this may require a certain level of natural skill, natural talent, and it may just require, does this cater to your strengths or does it cater to your weaknesses? Certain people are just more naturally suited, whether based off, a variety of factors. Maybe you got an early start. Warren Buffett, he started reading about the stock market when he was like 8 years old. He had already finished all the books on the stock market in his local library by the time he was 12 years old. Michael Jordan, very similar with basketball. Now, is that necessary? No, but it's one of the ways that you can get ahead. Other people, they don't find out about their skill until later in life because, they test out different things and sort of like hone their way towards it. And these people, they have other factors at play that have allowed them to realize, I can be the best at this because I have the experience, I have the knowledge, maybe I have certain reference experience that most people don't have. Whatever it is, perhaps it's just deep interest and deep passion at this that most people don't, and therefore you spend more time than most people at hustling at this. It could be a variety of factors, but can you be one of the best at this? Can you be number one? Do you have that potential? So that's the second factor. The third factor is understanding market conditions. Understanding that there is a certain level of supply and demand, and ultimately it's an exchange of values, and you have to, at the end of the day, on some level, cater to what other people want. You could want until the end of time to be paid a ton of money to sit on the couch and eat potato chips and watch TV all day. Here's the problem. There's no market demand for that. No one is willing to pay you to do that. And therefore, you can be the best potato chip eater in the world, but no one's willing to pay you for that because there's no value being exchanged to other people. That's just kind of how it works. And therefore, you have to, change or reposition yourself or do a little extra in order to create that value. It may require some creativity. For instance, you could turn this into some type of TV show entertainment review show on YouTube where you're eating potato chips and watching TV shows, but you're reviewing them and critiquing them and thereby growing a large audience by, forming a level of entertainment. Is it exactly the same thing as sitting there and eating potato chips? No, not exactly. So, it may require a bit of compromise. You know, if you're that quiet person who doesn't want to be seen in the public eye, who, doesn't want their face shown on camera, maybe that's not going to work for you. Maybe you'll have to do something else, blogging, writing. But, sitting there and eating potato chips point blank, that will be very hard to do unless you're super creative. And even then, if the market demand is not there, it's tough, but that's kind of how it is. So it will require some work. And, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, that's kind of how the world works in certain ways. Uh, some people make a decent amount of income from teaching women how to be better in the dating world. Sometimes the market's just not there. People aren't willing to pay for it, and therefore they're only willing to spend so much on it, and they can only make so much. So if you can figure out, well, which areas can I better cater towards, it can help you, better serve your audience. And this doesn't necessarily mean just chasing the money, which is what a lot of Asian people do. They tell their children, go after the lawyers, go after the doctors. It's a very natural human cultural tendency that a lot of populations of people do. It doesn't necessarily mean this, because again, you're ignoring a lot of other traits, like, forcing people or trying to convince them to like something that they don't. Another pathway is to just reposition yourself or really listen to your market. So there have been plenty of cases where people have really listened to their market. So going back to female relationship advice, by simply, listening to your market and repositioning and listening to what they want and what they're willing to pay for, you may be able to reposition your product and service and, alter it and change it and iterate numerous times. And there have been proven cases of this occurring where by doing so, you have created something where they actually are willing to pay for it. Something that is a burning desire that they really need. And that can translate into a lot more money because there's tremendous more demand. So sometimes what you think is the true market demand and supply is not actually what's actually out there. It may require actually listening and deep research and one-on-one conversation with your customers. Plenty of people think that they understand